Thank you, Janice. Good evening, everyone, and thank you for joining us on the Q1 FY21 results conference call of Kolte Patil Developers Limited. We have with us today Gopal Sarda, Group CEO, and Vikram Rajput, Head Investor Relations. Before we begin, I would like to state that some of the statements in today's discussion may be forward-looking in nature and may involve certain risks and uncertainties. A detailed statement in this regard is available on the Q1 FY21 results presentation that has been sent to all of you earlier. I would now like to invite Mr. Gopal Sarda to begin the proceedings of the call.
Good evening, everyone. A warm welcome to everyone present and thank you for joining us today to discuss the operating and financial performance of our company for the first quarter ended 30th June 2020. I hope all of you and your families are keeping well in this trying period over the last few months. The current financial year has started off in challenging circumstances, continuing in the backdrop of the global turbulences caused by the COVID-19 pandemic starting March 20. As you know, through the course of the previous year, the Indian economy had already been under the strain of slowdown and weakness in consumer spending. With the constraints caused by the continuing spread of the virus across the country and more specifically the impact caused in our target markets, we have reported a subdued performance in Q1. Q1 saw sales volume of 0.31 million square feet, translating to a booking value of rupees 164 crore. This was driven by Life Republic, Ivy and Bangalore projects. We were highly encouraged to see demand across affordable, MIG and even 24K product segments, which were entirely sustenance sales in existing projects. The number of deal closures achieved across projects and products is in the backdrop of the widespread and protracted weakness in all kinds of discretionary spending activity in recent months. Our customer visibility was supported by digitalized interaction, while physical visits and site experiences remained constrained. We promptly revamped our overall ecosystem, scaling up digital sales platform to ensure secure, dedicated virtual collaboration and communication with customers. Advanced digital tools and user-friendly virtual assistants heightened the customer confidence. Along with sales, Q1 collections from customers were also low at rupees 105 crore. You may recall that the current quarter weakness comes soon after we recorded our highest ever collection last year in 3 decades of operations. The lockdown for a major portion of the quarter brought our execution momentum almost to a standstill in the months of April and May. During the quarter, there was substantial reduction in construction and labor force capacity. Further, property registration suffered on account of closure of government offices. In this period, the banking system was working at a slower pace and home loan disbursements were being processed based on firmer and more extensive evaluation criteria. However, the labor force strength is gradually increasing and reached at approximately 55 to 60% in mid-August from 40% at the end of June. Going forward, we expect 30 to 50% improvement in collections on a quarter-on-quarter basis for the remainder of the year as labor force, construction and sales continue to recover. Q1 revenue declined to rupees 77 crore on POCM basis. With the lockdown in place for most of the quarter, construction activities during the period were at a standstill for almost 2 months, impacting revenue severely. We incurred a loss of rupees 32 crore during the quarter. Profitability was mainly impacted by lower revenues and execution of lower margin projects. The limitation of customers' collection during the quarter means that our focus was on business continuity and cash conservation. We have also maintained very strict discipline on every phase of our indirect cost base, and this resulted in a sharp decline in operating expenditure during the quarter. Net debt was stable in Q1 and the leverage remains at a very comfortable level at 0.5 times equity. Overall, efficient working capital management, sustained cash flow generation has resulted in stable liquidity position for the company. We have sufficient undrawn bank limits, a good pipeline of new launches, sufficient sold receivables, meaningful RTMI inventory with OC, and unreleased inventory which will further improve our free cash flows. We are expecting net free cash flow of approximately 260 crore from RTMI inventory in Jai Vijay, Raga and Western Avenue projects where we have already received OC. During the quarter, our liquidity position was also bolstered by a joint development agreement we signed with Planet Smart City, a UK-based real estate developer, for strategic land monetization of 5.52 acres of sector R10 in Life Republic for rupees 91 crore. This transaction was closed in circumstances of weak systematic liquidity, further highlights the value creation prospects of Life Republic as a project. During the first quarter and coming into the second quarter of the year, our entire organization has continued to work efficiently within our business continuity and risk management framework, ensuring minimum impact on all the company stakeholders. While the world comes to terms with the extensive disruption in all spheres of economy and human activity, we believe this is a good time to take the various learnings and build our organization position further. We think now is also the most opportune time to remain focused on creating more resilience into our corporate structure and a solid business that gains from the emerging new realities in the real estate sector. We see the current situation as one of the demand deferment. Our value offerings in the affordable MIG and even 24K segment continue to find strong interest that should translate into sales velocity in future. While current sales activity is driven by sustenance sales in existing projects across cities, we have a strong pipeline of new launches in Pune, Mumbai and Bangalore with aggregate sales area of approximately 4.5 million square feet and top line potential of approximately 4150 crore. Contribution from this project should expand our growth visibility and once again accelerate the virtuous cycle of sales, execution and cash flows. Our overall performance during the remaining 9 months of financial year 21 is expected to be better with improvements in each subsequent quarter. We look forward to continue to build a differentiated position in our target market as customers find great comfort in brand, quality, governance and execution-led developers. On that note, I conclude my opening remarks and would like now ask the moderator to open the line for Q&A. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Ladies and gentlemen, we will now begin the question answer session. Anyone who wishes to ask a question may press star and 1 on their touchtone telephone. If you wish to remove yourself from the question queue, you may press star and 2. Participants are requested to use handset while asking a question. Ladies and gentlemen, we will wait for a moment while the question queue assembles. We take the first question from the line of Manoj Dua from MT Investment. Please go ahead.
Good afternoon, sir. My first question is, how much was the pre-sale in the month of June, if it is possible, and how the trend is moving toward July and August from there?
So if you want the breakup of 0.31 million square feet, so I think in the month of June, it's approximately 0.15.
Okay.
And the upward journey is also positive. We see on a month-on-month basis, we are coming back to the quarterly run rate of 65 to 70% of our pre-COVID numbers.
Okay. Now, as there is a lot of headwinds in pre-sales, so developers are giving discounts in terms of in scheme, easy paying scheme like 1090 or 2080 or something like that. And recently I was reading an order of RERA that a developer was forced to return back the money that he deducted 20% money in the case of cancellation. So what are the risks in easy schemes? How much, if the cancellation come, how much customer lose? How much skin in the game of the customer is there in cancellation?
So I think there are two perspectives. One, we look from a developer's perspective and second from the customer's front. I think developers have to build some confidence in terms of the delivery. So customers for the time being are aware about that labor is a big constraint. So there might be a delayed deliveries. So they prefer the payment plans like probably 2080, 1090. So that whatever markup developer is building by way of interest, that's for a definitive period. And if there is a further delay, then customer is not liable to pay that and he is secure somewhere that the interest component which developer has escalated in the form of price is restrictive to a definitive period. So from a customer perspective and from a developer perspective, I think this is a sort of a commitment in the form of delivery which developer is impliedly giving to the customers to boost their confidence. Now, as far as the cancellation question is coming, I think it all depends on the developer's policy. So, in the document, when you share with the customer, I think in the AFS document, if your policy is very clear in terms of 5%, 10% of the total agreement value can go into the cancellation, and that policy should not be contradict to the RERA MOFA agreements or probably the current AFS agreement under RERA. So one has to balance in such a manner that the policy is taking care of RERA compliance as well as the developer's interest. So there can't be any sort of a unilateral percentage. One has to think in mind, and it has to be aligned with the RERA and MOPA requirements from the government.
Okay. And what has been the trend now? Like some developers, we are listening that customers are asking for a bigger home and big sizes, and maybe asking for premium quality also. So what is the trend between affordable and 24K? Are we getting uniform traction, or some sector is getting higher? And what about sizes also?
So I think, as I already said, there is a demand for all the products and all the segments. It's all about the right product mix. So affordable to mid-income obviously would be the first to revive, and it's already we have started seeing the traction on the ground. I think the one a sudden change, or probably the new aspect which is coming in the form of analysis, is that I think to some extent 7 to 8% of 2 BHK demand is shifting to 3 BHK, because those couple who are working and their companies are strong in terms of the operational capabilities and their jobs are secured and they can afford additional space, I think they are going from 2 to 3 BHK. They are upgrading, they are taking that additional risk because their jobs are intact, they are secured by the company comforts. So some sort of demand has moved towards the 3 BHK, because if both wants to work from home, which is the new trend which we all have witnessed, and that is the new normal. So I think the additional room helps them to do their office work efficiently without any disturbances. So that trend is what we have seen. A 3 BHK demand is going up on a month-on-month basis to the tune of 7 to 8%. And as far as the larger homes also, like exceptionally for 4 BHK and 5 BHK also, HNIs or guys who are at a well position, or probably we call it a CXO level, they are also upgrading, because nowadays we all know that there is a home is the best place to stay, wherein you can build your some sort of office spaces, your fitness center and all. So additionally, whomsoever is can accommodate this kind of ticket size budgets, I think those are buying. So in nutshell, if we have to conclude, I will say there is a proper demand for all the segments, and it's all about the right mix. So probably 80% demand would be towards affordable to mid-income, while 20% we can classify under 24K offices and alternative assets of real estate.
Okay, thank you and best of luck.
Thank you. The next question is from the line of Dhaval Somia from PhillipCapital. Please go ahead.
Thank you for the opportunity, and congratulations on good performance even in the challenging times, Gopal. So my first question is that so you mentioned about the weak registration, So how is that panning out from the government end, and are the buyers willing to step out to do the stamp duty and registration process? Is it back to normal?
No, so I think there are a lot of challenges currently, because I think one of the reasons for subdued collections is on two fronts. One is that we all know in our industry, we may be having a sold receivables to the tune of 1,350 crores lying on the books as of March 2020. But I think we have to bifurcate that into two parts, registered and unregistered sales. For the registered sales, we need the slab casting to be progressed at the site so that we can send more demands and generate more money. And as far as the new sales which we are generating, like for the quarter 0.31 million square feet, this needs to be registered so that the bank disbursements will flow. I think currently both aspects are very, very important, not only registration but construction as well. And on the registration front, as you know, like Pune being such a prominent market wherein the demand is coming across, so from Mumbai, rest of India, rest of Maharashtra and NRIs, everybody is buying at Pune. So when we talk about our portfolio, it also consists of 65% Pune based and 35% sales other than Pune market. And for them, there are too many issues in terms of, now travels and permissions also they required, because they have to come to Pune and register their units. So I think their challenges are also there from the traveling perspective, from the passes, from the government approvals, and other challenges. So it may possible that it will take a quarter or two to cover the full registrations. So for next 2 quarters, the pressure would be there on the collections front because of the registrations and construction. But we are hopeful that on a quarter-on-quarter basis, the things are improving. So like in the month of April and May, the collections were in the tune of 27-28 crores only, while June has touched to 50 crore. And likewise, we are seeing that July and August also is moving upward. So we are hopeful that quarter-on-quarter, 30 to 50% jump we can show in the collections, and things will come to normalcy over a period of next 3 quarters.
And my second question was that across our project pipeline of 10 odd projects and 4.5 million square feet, how much of it is launch ready, or which can be launched in a couple of weeks time, and where we are maybe waiting for environment to improve a bit?
So I can give you some timelines for some projects. So specifically, we can touch each of the regions. I think first we start with Mumbai. So as far as Mumbai portfolio is concerned, like Sagar Vaibhav CHSL and Om Shri Gokul CHSL, I think those 2 projects we can for sure expect to go for launch in the month of October. Likewise, Life Republic R10 sector 1.4 million, that will also come in the month of October, and followed by other projects like Downtown, Glitterati Balance and Hari Ratan Based Road Mumbai. These projects can come in the month of Jan and Feb. So I think these 6-7 projects will definitely come for this particular financial year, while for Boat Club and Giga, we may need some more time, but we are trying to get all the approvals by March 21 so that some sort of revenues and collections can flow into the system. But around 6-7 projects which we have just discussed, I think that there is absolute clarity and we are pretty much on track as far as the launch is concerned.
Thank you. And one last question from my end is, sir, in the cash inflow from the land monetization is 45 odd crores. So when is the balance expected? Is it a couple of quarters lag, or we expect it to come in this quarter itself?
So, Planet Smart City transaction is what you are referring, based out of Life Republic. So, I think the transaction value was 91 crore, out of which 50% we have already received in the month of April, and the 50% amount is linked to the environment clearance, so which we are expecting by end of September. So, this current quarter we are expecting that amount, maybe 1 month here or there, but before December for sure that amount will flow into the system.
Okay, Gopal, thank you. That's all from my side.
Thank you. The next question is from the line of Himanshu Upadhyay from PGIM. Please go ahead.
Yeah, hi Gopal. Good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
Yeah, I had 2-3 questions. The completed project, which are where we have stated that the free cash flow could be 260 crores. So how soon or how fast the sales are possible in these 3 projects?
So
what is your timeline for these 3 project sales? Yeah.
So all these 3 projects, the sales have started picking up. In fact, in the most challenging project for us in terms of the ticket size was Jai Vijay, because of the GST impact during last couple of quarters. So there was, and since we were holding our prices, so that time there was no traction. But post OC we have seen a good traction coming in. We have already sold 2-3 units in last month. So I think the entire inventory, if you want to talk about, it will be offloaded in next 10 to 12 months time between Raga, Jai Vijay and Carnation. I mean Western Avenue.
Okay. And one question was on this. You had a release on BSE on 6th August regarding the what is the dispute between the Jai Vijay project or the people who are already existing and between us, means that 36 crore, and where are we currently on that thing, means on that situation?
So I think we have sent a clarification note to both the exchanges, but I can elaborate for your understanding. So this dispute has started more on the clubhouse front. So basically, they were looking for some 300 units sort of space in the clubhouse, and we have calculated some odd 10 per square feet per member, and there was no specific written in the document like how much we need to build as a clubhouse. And they were expecting that we have to construct this clubhouse from the FSI portion. So the first dispute have arisen on the clubhouse front. They should have been very specifically written that this kind of requirement is there in their mind, and that area has been specified in the DAP, and they could have also mentioned about that if the current free of FSI portion is not adequate, then you may have to let go from your sale portion to build that kind of clubhouse. So that was the first dispute. And second, I think project has also been delayed to the tune of 12 months because of many reasons, old DCR, new DCR, then in between initial days dumping ground, and then GVK NOC over and above civil aviation NOC, which is like a historic event in Bombay, because usually once you have a civil aviation NOC, then the project is through and you are starting, and post TC there is a new requirement coming in the form of GVK NOC, wherein they were unable to get some coordinates on the site, and it took us some 2 to 3 months time to obtain that. And then last year also there was a huge monsoon in Mumbai region, which were not been witnessed in last 65 years. So these couple of reasons have been delayed the project, and due to which they were also looking for some sort of liquidated compensation. And the first and foremost thing is that we were legally very strong because the BG has been encashed post OC. We have obtained the OC, we have given the possession, and they have encashed the BG just because of one thing, because that unconditional sort of clause was there in the document. This was more of a pressure tactic on the developer. So we sat down and we have decided that rather to go into the court matters, and which may take 1.5 years, 2 years, 2 years time to come on the solution. And logically speaking, we thought that ultimately we are losing some sort of interest on the big amount. So we sat down with them and amicably we have closed. And today the settlement deed is at the last leg of discussion. Our lawyers are doing the fine tuning. Hopefully in next 10 to 12 days time we will be signing that. And after paying the compensation to the tune of I think 6 to 7 crore, the balance amount will flow into the system. So with that the dispute will be over and the liquidity will be back to our books.
Okay. Thanks. And one thing on the how are the pricing for new launches you are expecting? And one thing which I wanted to understand was, so we have these redevelopment projects in Bombay, okay? And so something like high value item in Goregaon, how much sensitivity or a profitability are we able to get if the prices come down by 5 to 10%? How big a negative impact can it be? Because just we are hearing more and more on the pricing front, there may be certain amount of pressure. So what are you sensing and how are you thinking about the launches? And how big an impact can plus minus 5% does on the redevelopment location projects IRRs and returns? Can you give some idea on that?
Sure. So on the redevelopment portfolio, I think many times we have talked on the redevelopment feasibility and financial front. I think on the redevelopment front per se also, we are operating with a 25 to 27% sort of margins. I think redevelopment is more of a working capital management game wherein you can enhance your ROC and IRR. So we have, the societies were very cooperative with us during changes in the DCR, whatever impact on the cost have come, they have given us the incremental FSI free of cost wherever we need to accommodate to bring the feasibility. So that was also been taken care, and we have entered into a supplemental agreement, and we have also done the registration and closure. Now coming back to a specific question, if we go for a 5% sort of price cut, so as I said, since we are operating at a 26% sort of an EBITDA margin, it can come down to 21%, but with a top line of 1100 crore, even 210 to 260 crore sort of free cash flow is what we are expecting, with an investment of not more than 50 to 60 crores. Because everywhere we have got a phenomenal structures wherein we have to lock the initial IODCC to make the project roll, wherein we have the retail portion, we can sell the retail, we can generate cash flows, and we can invest for the balance IODCC. So while acquiring, we have ensured that we are getting one-on-one. So if the full amount we are investing, we will get if we are investing 100 crore, 100 crore should be the profitability to the company in 3 to 4 years time. And while starting the investment, we are starting with a 35 to 40% of the total volume. So we are well balanced from the ROC perspective, from the EBITDA perspective, and from the cash flow management perspective. So we have ensured that in any of the situation, if the cost goes up by 5% and the revenue is coming down by 5%, still we will win either of the parameters, either on the EBITDA front, PAT front, or ROC front. And we will always remain like a asset-light model for the redevelopment project.
Okay. Okay. Yeah, I'll come back in queue for further questions.
Thank you. The next question is from the line of Manish Moonka from GST Investment. Please go ahead.
Yeah, good afternoon, sir. We observed an increased focus on technology in our press releases, went through the website and appreciate the work that you did there. Could you please share some aspects of our sales strategy such that we are able to differentiate ourselves in the digital space to maintain our leadership? Thank you.
Yeah, a good question. I think in this unprecedented times, I think digital platform is what most of the guys or most of the peers and industry at large have been using that. I think we have created an ecosystem from a lead generation to the closure of the unit. We not have to do any kind of physical activities. We have created a full ecosystem wherein the customers are uploading the KYCs on a digital platform. We are also getting their RTGSs online, and we are submitting the closure document to them online. So today, I think on the tech front, like we have lead management software, we have heavily invested in advanced SAP and CRM, and each and every call, each and every lead is getting tracked in the system. There is a complete digital platform for the customer KYC, and we have back-ended closures also from the accounts and finance perspective. So I think going forward, social media, digital platform is what is prevailing, and we are also using the tech apps also. Like today, if they want to interact with our sales representative, there are basically a digital room wherein one-on-one discussion can happen. We have installed the television, we have installed like Microsoft Teams, Zoom, like we have also an in-house ERP software which is helping them to understand more on the project front, and we are also implementing augmented and virtual reality wherein we are showing them the complete site online in the room, wherein they can see that what is the progress going on, which floor if they take, then where would be all the views, and in terms of the internal floor plan that they have to assess on their screens. But in terms of the site visit, we have created a virtual ecosystem, and I think this is what most of the players are doing. I don't see much of the differentiation, but we are also working on the apps also from the customers' immediate queries on immediate questions, and which will be implemented over a period of time. So, but current setup is resulting good momentum on the sales front, and in spite of the turbulence time and unprecedented times in Q1, we have clocked an pre-sales of 0.31 million square feet. That shows the result is flowing into the system.
Okay, sir, appreciate the answer. So one request I wanted to make. Sir, could you please upload the transcripts of the con calls that we go through, because it could help us understand the company better by reading the past transcripts and everything.
Sure, point noted. I'll ask my investor relations team to do the needful.
Okay, sir. Thank you so much.
Thank you. A reminder to all participants connected to this conference, if you wish to ask a question, please press star then 1 on your touchtone telephone. The next question is from the line of Biplab Debbarma from Antique Stock Broking. Please go ahead.
Good afternoon, sir. Hope all is well at your end. My question is on the consolidation nature that you might be seeing in Pune. Especially, you might be getting a lot of deals and evaluating a lot of deals. I just wanted to understand what kind of deals that you are seeing. What kind of deals are there? Trend in terms of, like, are they under construction projects, nearing completion, or it is simple land deal? Somebody has land and they feel that you are the right developers to develop that kind of deal? What kind of JDA, DMA? We're just trying to understand the trend that you are seeing in terms of new deals. And related to that question, sir, in this current situation where every developer will be focusing to sell their unsold inventory, because last 3-4 months have been very bad. And going forward, everybody would want to first offload their unsold inventory, try to manage the cash flow. What kind of bandwidth or wherewithal you would have, even if you find a good deal, to take up those kind of deals?
Sure. So I think we can bifurcate your question into two parts. First, I'll touch on the business development, and second, we'll come on the sales front. So I think on the business development front, there are all kind of deals which are flowing on our table. So today we are getting profit sharing deal, revenue sharing deal, stock sharing deal, outright transactions, and even projects wherein half stock or even the bankers are approaching us to come as a lead partner and drive this project, and they can manage the full cash flow for the existing developer. So I think all kind of deals are flowing, but our strategy would remain a mixed bag, wherein we will obviously go asset light, and wherever we feel that there is a super distressed opportunity is coming, then that time we will take some aggressive call in terms of going for outright models along with private equity, or by taking minimal debt and close that transaction, and balance can be paid in the tranches. So our strategy remains simple, like for the next 9 months, we will focus to preserve cash for the operation revival and fulfill our existing commitments towards the third tranche of ICICI buyout, and also towards some repayments on the debt front, and also on the projects wherein we have also adopted like a 50-50 plan or 20-80 plan in terms of customer payouts, wherein we have to infuse our money and then complete the project. Going forward, I think once we see that 75 to 80% of the achievement of last year's target are coming from sales, collection, construction, then we have a fair visibility in terms of cash flows flowing into the system, and then we can take the new commitments on the outright front. So that's the strategy. Having said that, if any of the specific opportunity come with a super distress to the tune of 25 to 30%, then we have a platform understanding with two private equity guys, wherein we have to invest 30% and they can invest 70%. So those platform can be in cash, because currently when we had a discussion with our platform partners, they were also looking for a steep and deep discount. Otherwise, they will also into a wait and watch mode as far as the outright transactions are concerned. So business development is an art. I think the one who has to create a structure in a manner that you remain asset light, you gain on the profitability front, and there is not too much of the pressure on the working capital cycles, because nowadays I think gone are those days wherein you entered into a transaction, you start your pre-sales even before approval and definitive agreements. But now definitive agreements, then your approval, ECCC, RERA compliance are very important. So one, you have to invest at the time of signing the transaction. The second comes towards TDR, paid FSI premiums, and obtain the CC. And in between, whenever the project is at advanced stage of inventory, buyers are smart to save on their GST front, and they prefer RTMI. So some sort of money you have to keep in your pocket to manage the working capital cycle. So we assess the project in a manner like how much is our upfront requirement, what would be the working capitals required during the project, and how the overall financial closure is being taken care of and all the stakeholders' interests are aligned. Then only it makes sense to enter and complete the project. So for us, the entry and exit is very important, and the project parameters are also equally important. So when we talk about a half-done project, or probably some developer have started a project wherein he has done 30% of the sales, and that sales is been delayed for 2 years towards delivery, and some portion he has sold which is not sanctioned, and there are too many sort of stakeholders involved like a banker, unsecured loan, and private equity. Then such kind of projects we are avoiding to ensure that the productivity of the management is being deployed to the right deals, which can be moved at a faster pace. So we don't want to become a CRM company, neither a legal expert to resolve all these projects. We can take at max a design risk or the approval risk, or probably raising the money towards the project completion and finish it off. So that's the strategy. Design changes are okay. Approval, partly approved, partly we have to wait. That is fine. And to raise sometimes money with private equity bankers on our brand, that is easily available. So all those structuring is what we are evaluating. On the sales front, I think we will be continuing with the launches what we have in our mind, and which we have also mentioned in today's IR presentation also. I think we believe that maybe 20-25% demand is going out because of the layoffs, because of the subdued market, because of the salary cuts for the employees. But however, we feel that since market at large, so only the big players are into a consolidation phase, wherein the smaller players will be going out, so that share can be encashed by the larger players, and that would be more than the 25% demand which is going out. So we can be compensated well over there, and that would be the right strategy to launch the projects as planned. Maybe couple of quarters you will see slow sales, but in the long run you will catch up that, because sales is a function you can catch up in a quarter's time. While construction, obviously there are certain processes and you have to accommodate specific timelines to cover the project. So sometimes if we may ahead on the construction curve, but sales can catch up at a later stage. So the launch calendar will be intact, and we are very hopeful that post-December sales revival will happen, and then March 21 onwards, I think we can do larger numbers than March 2020 what we have delivered.
Okay, sir. One final question. Sir, have you seen any significant increase in cancellations or delay in payments in the month of, June, July? Anything significant that is worth mentioning? Cancellations or delay in payments.
So I think if we assess such kind of unprecedented times, I think usually customer goes into complete sort of wait and watch mode, or sometimes customers are completely confused. Maybe some set of customers are worried about their job continuity and all those things, and some sort of investments which they have done in past, that is what stuck, or they want more period. So couple of times such kind of request does come, but it all depends on the merit basis, and I think typically the 30 to 40 days timeline can be given to the customers to revive and get his funds available. But once you are into a contractual obligation, and when you are driving such a large businesses, so I think business clauses are taking into consideration, and then we ask them to either pay the money, or there are certain sort of interest parameters, or if somebody has showed that unwillingness to pay, then we are also proceeding for the cancellations also. So in such kind of time, I think 5 to 10% sort of cancellations is the trend in the market, and whatever we are reporting, these are the net of cancellation numbers. So probably when we talk about April, May and June, like 0.31 million square feet is what we have reported, while 50 to 60,000 square feet you can consider towards the cancellation from previous quarter and this quarter.
Okay. Thank you. I will come back in the queue. Yeah.
Thank you. The next question is from the line of Manoj Dua from MD Investment. Please go ahead.
Sir, in short term, definitely everybody in real estate has had for a headwind, but medium to short term looks very promising for a developer like us. And if we go back to our last annual report, our intention to move to company toward higher level like 4 million sales, 5 million sales, we have to do some business development deals in whatever structure form it is there. So do you think this year could be, because of headwinds, we could good chance? So it looks to preserve cash flow, but it looks like great opportunity to do business development deal this year. What's your thought about that?
Absolutely. I think our timing is, we call it as blessings in disguise. Maybe we have, in last 1.5 years, we have not done too many deals which went well for us, because those deals are coming at a cheaper and at a right valuation. So probably this is the right time to go aggressive on the business development front. So our gut feeling is that for next 12 to 15 months, there are a lot of deals which are flowing, and we will announce it at an appropriate time, because post COVID environment, I think a lot of angles needs to be looked at, as I have already mentioned, in terms of the financial closure, the funding required to start the project and all those things. So we see that in next 12 to 18 months, you will see good announcements coming from KPDL towards business development front. And also on the pre-sales number, as we were talking about 4-5 million business plan for the company as a whole. So if we have to see, I think we have a decent pipeline also. It's not the matter if the business development doesn't happen, that doesn't mean we will not be able to scale up our pre-sales and collections. So I think today we have 4.2 million square feet RERA approved unsold inventory, and we have around 4.5 million square feet under launches, and the total under approval is around 6 million square feet. So by March 21, once we have that 6 million under approval to a launchable inventory, and then even from 4.2, half or 80%, half of the inventory gets sold for the year, we have a good sort of portfolio which can be considered for financial year 21-22, wherein we can show the next level of jump from the previous pre-sales number and the next level of collections flowing into the system. Also, one more important point which I think I would love to bring here is that if you have seen that 4.5 million square feet of pre-sales or 4.5 million square feet of launch calendar is translating to an aggregate value of 150 crores. So that means the new average of price realization is to the tune of 9,200. So going forward, I think the average price realization of the company will move substantially on a higher side, which ultimately will translate into a larger EBITDA and larger profitability, because Mumbai and existing Pune projects will start contributing, wherein we have the historical land cost, and also there are a couple of retail sellable component we have across projects which will boost the APR. So going ahead, next 3 to 4 years vision, I think EBITDA and PAT will expand substantially.
Okay. Provided lockdown doesn't happen, I think sales are increasing month by month, and we have launches in the month of October. Do you think we can cross last year pre-sales with all this probability?
I think particularly for this financial year, we may not be able to surpass last year's pre-sale number, but definitely for March 2022, we will surpass last 4 years number.
Can you explain? So how much will be down from the last year?
You're talking about this particular year?
This particular year, financial year 2021.
Since today, I think since we don't have any clarity on the vaccination front, and I think the way the cases are increasing, it might possible couple of more lockdowns can come. So I think it all depend on the vaccination visibility. But irrespective of any change in the environment, and we expect that the same subdued or the current environment prevails for the entire year, we should be in a position to match 75% of the last year's pre-sales number.
Okay, one last question. In many developers, NRI sales have been increasing because of currency, and the rates have been stable for 5-6 years, and they are also looking for opportunities. So what are we doing to increase our NRI sales?
I think we have also witnessed that the NRI sale is double compared to pre-COVID time. We have a focused digital strategy for the NRI market. We have activated our associate and channel partners in the NRI market, and a dedicated team of sales who is working based in India is in continuous search. We are nurturing all the leads, and we are hopeful that the NRI sale throughout the year would be far better and one of the highest in last couple of decades. So I think for NRI market also, even the new launches, we will have a definitive one segment as NRI sales coming into, and we will dedicatedly build a team, channel partners, as well as a digital platform to generate larger share from NRI market, because that is very active and currently giving us a good result.
Okay, and thank you. I think we should expect good BDA. I think it's a great year for doing development deals which can lay a foundation for medium term. This is my feeling. Thank you.
Thank you. A reminder to the participants, if you wish to ask a question, please press star then 1 on your touchtone telephone. Next question is from the line of Himanshu Upadhyay from PGIM. Please go ahead.
Yeah, Gopal, when we are saying that the projects which we did not take on our hands, or we did not buy or the land, but now they are at a better price points. how much better would that be? Means would it be what percentage you are seeing the price lower than what you were earlier negotiating?
So I think I can go deal by deal from a revenue sharing perspective. If earlier projects or locations like Bane, Raun, Balewadi, people were asking 40-60% on the revenue sharing percentage, that those kind of transactions are available at 34-35% because the landowners were unable to manage the working capital cycle. So there we can see some sort of 12% sort of a price negotiation in our hand from the peak 40-60 transaction. As far as the profit sharing transactions are concerned, earlier the developers were into the mode of like 40% goes to the developer and 60% to the landowners with a minuscule investment. Those transactions are in the range of 50-50. They are easily accommodating. And on the outright front, I think any land price pre-COVID versus today, I think 10% to 15% discount everybody is ready to consider if we are paying a down payment. However, if you want a larger tenure or probably a deferred or a structured payout towards 2 years, then we have to consider the same price, and we can consider 50% paying from our own equity and 50% can be generated from the internal accruals of the project. So these are the scenarios which are helpful to either build EBITDA, PAT, ROCs or IRR and manage the working capital cycles efficiently. And there is a decent margin to now evaluate JDs, which were earlier a bit a challenging scenario because we have to give a higher share and then you have to manage the cost. And now post GST, we all know that at the Pune and Bangalore market, that's a second dent which is coming to the developer. So I think that's where the concerns were, and on the JDA front also the GST is coming on the stock portion. So I think in the revenue sharing model that would be advantageous, and now those kind of deals can flow into the system.
Okay. And the second question was the projects which we are doing in or going to launch in Bombay. What is your thought process that how can we faster sell those projects? So let us say Jai Vijay and all those took much longer time, and then means. And right now again the GST benefits are also there. Not benefit, but the incremental cost and what used to be. How do you think and what can you do to be disruptive and get faster sales done? Because that is one of the important areas to be higher ROC company. Yeah. Especially in Mumbai projects. Can you give some idea?
Yeah, sure. So I think when we talk about the Jai Vijay, I think we were keeping a price higher than the market. So I think the rest of the market was in the range of 21,000, while we were selling at 24 and 25,000. So that was one of the reasons we were very low on the velocity front, because coming from a Pune and having not much of the deliveries in Mumbai market, and still we have commanded the premium, and we have done a sales of 60 units with the average selling price between 22.5 to 24.5. So that was the reason we were low on the velocity, because the price was comparatively 15% higher than the market, irrespective of we have delivered. But that won't be a scenario for the rest of the projects because of the two reasons. Jai Vijay, the ticket size was going beyond 3 crores. And while if you see Sagar Vaibhav project, the ticket size is in the range of 90 lakhs to 1.25 crores. So I don't think we have to do much of the sales freebies or any kind of payment plan to work at Sagar Vaibhav. I think the ticket size and the location is so well placed, we can easily generate good sales. As far as the other locations like Hari Ratan and your Om Shri Gokul project, I think Hari Ratan is also so well positioned on the linking road with a 4-side access to the plot and metro coming and malls next to that. That location itself is a nice location, and I think to the tune of 2.5 crore, 2 and 3 BHK would be a good demand because of the Jain, Gujarati, Marwadi community around, and we have seen some sort of interest coming across. People who are trying to inquire when the project will be launched. So once you have into the right ticket size, I think the velocity will automatically flow. So currently, Jai Vijay was on a slightly higher ticket size and plus additional burden on the pricing front, and then all of a sudden the GST has come. These three parameters have created a subdued sales, while other side of this Borivali, Sagar Vaibhav and Hari Ratan, wherein we have a good landing ticket sizes from the customer's point of view, and as well as strategically locations of all those plots. So their infrastructure, connectivity, access to other basic needs towards the hotels, towards the malls will automatically help us to generate far better velocity than Jai Vijay. And when we talk about a disruption, I think for that we need to have some sort of a larger sellable area or larger inventories. So these kind of redevelopment projects, these are more in the nature of asset-light model to build ROC and IRR and decent profitability to the organization. While since we don't have much of the inventory to sell beyond 2.5 lakh per project, I think the disruption plan would be difficult to develop. Rather, we will plan in a manner that the same inventory can be offloaded over a period of 3 years. The moment we'll enter into a 1 million sort of project development acquisition or launches at Mumbai, that time the disruption plans comes wherein we can show the volume to the Mumbai market.
Okay. Thank you. It was pretty helpful. Yeah.
Thank you. The next question is from the line of Manoj Dua from MD Investment. Please go ahead.
My question has been answered. Thank you.
Thank you. Well, ladies and gentlemen, that was the last question for today. I would now like to hand the conference over to Mr. Gopal Sarda for his closing comments. Over to you, sir.
Thank you once again for your interest and support. We will continue to stay engaged. Please be in touch with our investor relations team for further details or discussions. Look forward to interacting with you next quarter. Thank you.
Thank you. On behalf of Kolte Patil Developers, that concludes this conference. Thank you all for joining. You may now disconnect your lines.